The campsite deep in the forest had darkened far earlier than expected. Despite the clear sky, the light seemed to sink into the soil as if swallowed by the earth. As the man set up his tent, the overwhelming stillness in the air unsettled him. It felt as though the entire forest was holding its breath, waiting for something to emerge. The sparks rising from the fire flickered weakly, and no sound came from the woods, no birds, no insects, not even the faint rustle of leaves. Nature was far too silent, and this silence gradually turned into a humming pressure inside his ears. It was at that moment he noticed the first movement, a shadow shifting between the trees. Tall like a human, yet it did not stand like one. Its form bent unnaturally, stretching and folding into the darkness, as if its body were made of flowing shadow. As the night deepened, the fire shrank, and the darkness pressed in closer. Something was roaming the forest now, no longer a suspicion, but a presence. The entity drifting between the trees didn't walk. It slid effortlessly, as if its body barely touched the ground. Whenever the man pointed his flashlight, nothing appeared, but the moment he turned it off, the shadow seemed to reappear in a slightly different spot, always closer than before. The darkness itself grew heavier, expanding like a breath exhaled by something massive and unseen. The air became unnaturally cold. The earth beneath his feet pulsed faintly, vibrating with the slow rhythm of something alive moving below the surface. Terrified, the man retreated into his tent, though the thin layer of fabric offered no protection. Outside, irregular dragging sounds circled the tent footsteps, but not shaped like anything from this world. At one point, the tent's roof sagged inward, as if an invisible hand had pressed down gently. Then, the soil beneath him trembled again, something crawling just under the ground and moving away. It felt like the enormous body of a buried creature shifting in its sleep. With every breath he took, a foul scent seeped into the tent, heavy and rotten. It was not the smell of an animal. It resembled something long dead, decayed, and unearthed. When he finally gathered the courage to step outside, he noticed that the campfire had gone out completely. He had fed it wood it should have burned for hours, but it looked as though something had intentionally smothered it. The darkness around the pit no longer looked natural. It hung in the air like a suspended void, swallowing even the faintest ember. As he backed away, he noticed numerous small shadows shifting between the trees. These were not cast by the moonlight. They were moving of their own will, detaching themselves from the trunks and sliding across the forest floor. Each shadow was long, twisted, and slightly larger than a human arm, yet unmistakably aware of him. When he began to run, the forest changed around him. Paths he had walked earlier no longer existed, and the trees rearranged themselves in tight, unnatural formations, closing in on him. The forest seemed alive, deliberately reshaping itself to disorient and trap him. With every step, the branches reached lower, narrowing the space, pulling him deeper. The ground suddenly shifted, causing him to fall forward. When he lifted his head, the tall shadow he had only seen from afar now stood just a few meters away. Its silhouette mimicked a human shape, yet no human could possess limbs so elongated, a chest caved inward, or a head that held only a hollow void where a face should be. It didn't move. It simply stood still, as though savoring the fear radiating from him. As he scrambled to his feet, the entire forest fell silent at once. It was a suffocating silence, as if the air itself had been removed. The dark figure began gliding toward him, slow at first, then with terrifying speed, yet it stopped right before touching him. In that instant, he realized all sound had vanished. His breath, his heartbeat, even the whispers of the trees ceased to exist. Time itself felt suspended. The creature moved behind him, and the entire forest bent inward, drawn into a collapsing point like a closing fist. The man was pulled into the darkness without a scream. The forest did not allow sound to survive. By morning, the campsite looked untouched. No tent, no fire, no belongings, only footprints leading into the woods, with none returning. The forest stood silent once more, because it had fed